My parents were abusive. They themselves had been the victims of generational trauma, and they projected that trauma onto me. I became the scapegoat in the family, the whipping post. These are things that they called me. I painted this in 2009. I'd been out of my parents' home for several years at this point. But trauma sticks with you. And creating art is a way of coping and healing. I named this painting Soul Murder because that's what it felt like. Living with them and being victimized by them. In 2009, I also painted this. And I named it Trapped because that is exactly how I felt living in their home and being abused and traumatized. We were all victims, and I've come to a point in my life where I can forgive, not for them, but for myself. And this past year, I've been healing and learning coping strategies that my parents could never teach me because they themselves did not possess those skills. This art may not be pretty, but it was necessary for me on my healing journey. And I will be healing and coping the rest of my life. You might ask, why am I sharing my experiences with being victimized and traumatized by generational trauma, by my parents, by my family? Well, I'd say that it's important to share for yourself and for others because you don't know what someone's dealing with in their own lives. And to keep this all inside is really unhealthy. You know, as a Gen Xer, we were taught to stuff down our feelings and not express them. And that's just not healthy. I'm 42 now, and you know, I still live with the lingering effects of living in that really unhealthy environment. You know, I have to really think about why I may be doing something. So, like, one of the things I have realized through journaling and reading is that I struggle with doing things on my own. I always feel like I need to have someone there with me. And that is a side effect of being traumatized. So I am healing myself by doing things on my own. And it has changed my life. It's been amazing. I will go to the park and paint by myself, and it's so freeing. And it's been like the best thing I've done for myself ever. It's changed my life in such a positive way. And I'm really proud of that. But I did want to talk about these paintings. This one I showed in an exhibition at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. And it is the only time this has ever been seen in public. I've kept it in my closet, well protected. I mean, look, it still looks like it's freshly painted, brand new. And this one has never been in an exhibition. It has never been seen in public. The feelings that I was trying to portray and convey were so raw, and it was very difficult for me to want to share those publicly. But I am, for my own healing journey. And if just by showing them and talking about them helps someone, even just one person, that's amazing. And I'm proud of that. I'm happy to do that for someone. Trauma is devastating, and it affects every part of your life. Every part. And once I left my family, I grew up and moved out and started my own life. I thought, being out of that environment, that I was going to be okay just by being out of it. And the truth of the matter is, that wasn't dealing with what I'd gone through. That wasn't honoring myself or the events that had happened to me. Acting like I could just move on. It wasn't helpful in the least. I thought that I could just move on and I'd be okay. And that's just not how it works. The feelings that you had when you were being traumatized and abused stay in your body, stuck in your body, if you don't deal with them. And they can come out as anxiety, can come out as chronic pain. And that's just no way to live. You deserve better. I deserved better. And so this past year, I've been journaling and reading and researching and learning coping strategies to better myself and in turn bettering my family for generations to come. It is hard work looking internally and reviewing yourself, your actions. I've had to forgive myself for things that I had done trying to survive and cope. I've always just done the best that I could. And I'm sure the same could be said for my parents, for the most part. I mean, I know that they made bad decisions, obviously, but they didn't have coping strategies either. And they didn't know how to heal. And they were lost. And had been lost their whole lives. And it breaks my heart for them and for me. But the truth of the matter is, I can't do anything for them. I can only do for me. And I wish I had learned all this sooner in life. But I'm really thankful and glad that I've been able to learn it now. And that I'm working through it now. But I've always been an artist from a young age. And I will continue to be an artist as long as I can. Am physically capable of doing. I just love art. It's the purest form of self-expression, I think. And you get to learn about yourself through art and express yourself, and it's a beautiful thing. it really does get you out of your mind too. So, you know, let's say you're anxious and really focused on that anxiety. Well, you get into your art, you're focusing on your piece, you're living in the moment. It's kind of like a meditation. You're just focused on this instead of, the future, the anxiety. You're thinking about the art. So that's really helpful. And I have found that art has been one of the biggest lifesavers for me. So in creating these paintings, I was able to get emotions out, thoughts out that I didn't even know were there. Because I didn't think about them. I tried not to think about them. I tried to shove them down, push them away, hide them. But by getting them out, I was helping myself heal. So my mother, she passed away in August. And over the past few years, she had, shown remorse for how she was and behaved. And she had apologized. And she did try to make things better. So I don't want you to think I hate my parents, because I don't. Hate gets you really nowhere. It doesn't help you. It's really unhealthy, and it makes you feel sick, and it's just not fun. So I forgave my mother, but towards the end, she was kind of regressing and saying things that were hurtful. So I was going to give her some distance, to protect myself. And then she passed away. And that was really, really rough. But I understand that she was an abused child, and she had trauma from her marriage to my father and from other things in her life when she was younger. And she didn't know how to cope. She didn't know how to heal. She did the best that she could, and I forgive her. And despite all of that, there were some moments that we had, and I'll always treasure those. Like when I was a kid, I would watch the sunset or the sunrise with her. We would sit out on this metal dolly. We'd pull it out and wait for the school bus and watch the sunrise, and it was always beautiful, and I loved that, talking to her in those moments. It was really nice. And it was just me and her, and I'm thankful that we had that. Now, my father hasn't really changed, so distance is still key there to protect myself. You can set boundaries, and the boundaries still be not respected. So you have to protect yourself and give yourself distance from people who behave like that. And that's okay. But it's also hard, because as a child, no matter how old you are, you always want a close connection with your parents. You want that relationship, but you want a healthy relationship. So if you can't have a healthy relationship, you have to give yourself distance to protect yourself. But what people don't tell you is how you grieve that. You grieve for holidays, you grieve for birthdays, special occasions, moments that you'll never have. And it really sucks. It really sucks. And you feel like an orphan. Because essentially you were. You were abandoned and treated like you didn't belong. So it's really important to find belonging in yourself. And I'm learning that too. So there was an exhibition that I was in a few weeks ago, and in the past I would have been super anxious and nervous, and when I got there I wouldn't have talked to anybody unless they talked to me first. And like I wouldn't feel like I belonged, and I would be a wallflower. And part of my healing is to know my worth and step out of that state of mind. So I went to this exhibition, and I'm really happy to report that I talked with people and I didn't feel like I was out of place. I felt like I belonged because I belonged with me. And I know my worth now. I'm totally worthy of living this life. I'm worthy of being noticed by others, but mostly by myself, and appreciated by myself. So there is hope. There's definitely hope. And I hope that if you're watching this and you gained anything from it, that you too can improve your life. It is possible. You can do the work on your own. I have, but I did also have some help with a friend who does therapy. She's a therapist, so she was helping me, and that was tremendous. So if you can't do it all on your own, definitely seek guidance and help from a professional. That's okay. And that's one of the best things you can do for yourself. So how does this make me feel looking at it, holding it now? I could just feel the despair. I could feel the ache and the pain, the shame and the guilt. And these two pieces had been in my closet for all this time, in a bag, just tucked away. And that's why they look so immaculate. They look brand new, as if I just painted it yesterday. But when I showed this in the exhibition in Fort Worth, all the pieces surrounding it, because it was multiple artists from the area, all the pieces around it were just beautiful and elegantly curated. And then you have this. I was always so ashamed of it. But even then, I was wanting to bear my pain, to cast a light to it and on it. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. But it's real. And it really happened to me. And there's a word in here that repeats over and over and over. And it's why. Why did this happen to me? Why? And at the time, I blamed myself. I thought there was something wrong with me. Like I didn't belong. I wasn't wanted. But I understand now, after all this time, that it wasn't me. And it wasn't my fault. And I used to be ashamed of this. But I'm not anymore. I'm not. it's powerful. I'm powerful. My story is powerful. I wish that I didn't have to go through it, but I did. And I'm glad I get to share it. I'm glad I've put in the work to heal. And I'm glad I've been working on it all this time. I never gave up. I never gave up hope. I was always my light in the dark.